What's up? What's going on? It's another Saturday night. Y'all see above me the NFC. You see below me that beast. And with me tonight, I got my guy, Couch Coach. Couch Coach, what's up, man?
What's going on, man? I'm here, man. Trying to be above 500. That's all I'm trying to do. At
You
these
know me,
days.
man. You know me. Time for a bounce back week. Last week was a slap in the
Facts.
face.
Yeah.
It happens. You know what I'm
Oh yeah.
saying? You didn't go
Yep.
through 17 games and not happen. Just Burns. It was the Jets, but hey, it is what it is. But yeah, man, we are here. Obviously, we were out some of our fellow comrades tonight, but that's okay. We're a squad. We hold it down for the team. So we're going to take care of everything for everybody. Just us two, because we're nice like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we'll start off, man, with game six reviews. So we'll go in the chronological order of the games happening. So we'll start off with your Commanders versus the quarterbackless Falcons.
It was to me. I think it was a really good game. Us obviously winning by the final score 24-16. There was a few things in the game where I'm like, a lot less to be desired. But you look at just how efficient Sam Howell was, 14 for 23. A little over, well, not little over, but over 300 yards passing, three touchdowns. So you look at he had a very solid performance. We did, force three turnovers, which you're very happy, especially for guys like Ben St. Juice getting his first one, and also Jamie Davis getting his first interception in his career. You just look at that. I think the other issue, once again, the sacks. I mean, obviously, Sam's got to, got to realize sometimes, hey, you got to release it quick, more of a quicker release. But it's just one of those where you look at it, solid performance. It's much left to desired. We definitely could have had some opportunities where we could have put points on the board. And shout out to Jameson Crowder, who was the NFC Special Teams Player of the Week. So doing his thing. So definitely huge shout out to him. And hey, sometimes in this league, hey, you win ugly. This is a game that we won ugly, and hey, you just get out of dodge and you just get ready for the next week.
I mean, I definitely agree, man. I mean, the Falcons have a really good defense, and I tell people this all the time, and people laugh and blah blah blah. I mean, they don't have a quarterback, but they have a really good defense. So once they get a guy in that really can play NFL quarterback consistently, this Falcons team will be dangerous. But I don't think it's going to be this year. So y'all did what you needed to do. You handled business. You took care of a team that can't present a challenge, unlike somebody in your division who couldn't make that happen. So we will go ahead and move on to the next game. Unfortunately, gotta talk about it sometime.
Yeah.
Chronologically speaking, the next game was the Eagles versus the Jets. I say what I needed to say on Eagles Elite, but I will say this: you have to be better offensively. Jalen Hurts has to be better. The offensive play calling has to be better. The head coach cannot sit back and allow other people to screw up the offense when you're an offensively focused head coach. Um, you have to be better. Like it's a whole lot of got to be better to go around. Uh, Reports are they had a talk in the locker room after the game. The captains got up and talked to the team, all that good stuff, and that's fine. That's all good and dandy. But what I need is for that to carry over to the field this Sunday night. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't come out flat. You have to run the ball. When something doesn't work in a specific game, you have to put that to the side and come with something else. Shout out to the defense though, because the defense did a good job when put in a bad situation. So shout out to the defense 100. You know, anybody who don't agree with me, hey, don't argue with me, man. Go argue with somebody else. But the defense did a good job. That offense, putrid. The play calling on the offense, putrid. Uh, Execution, for the most part, putrid. Right? Devontae Smith, when do you drop balls, bro? Like we can't have that. AJ did his thing, but outside of that, like there's not a lot of people that you could really feel good about. Lane Johnson gets hurt. All of a sudden, Jalen Hurts is a whooping boy for the other team's defensive line. Like, come on, man. Other dudes is in there. When somebody gets hurt, when somebody has to go out, that's what they say next man up. But there has to be a next man that can step up. And there are some places in Philly where there's not. And hopefully the organization is going to address that. That's all I got to say about that game.
Yeah, and I think it's just one of those where I looked at this game, and obviously you think to yourself like Philly had so many opportunities to shut the door on this football team and never capitalized. I think that's what the biggest issue. It's almost reminiscent of the Jets week one win over the Buffalo Bills, where you look at it where there was points where it's like why is Jalen Hurts trying to throw deep, especially in certain ways because I mean you guys just giving the football and when they capitalize, offensively, as far as when the Jets perspective. So that was kind of one of those that kind of had me kind of question, like you said, the play calling and the play calling in that regard because it's they definitely could have killed that clock and could have went home with a victory. But it just shows you the testament of the Jets team where they got a great defense and they have an opportunistic type of defense, and that's one thing I think that kind of can keep them afloat in the sense where as far as not saying they're gonna make the playoffs, but I think they'll make it interesting in the AFC East just because of their defense alone. So yeah, like you said, I think it's just one of those where hey, it's you have this type of games and it's going to happen at some point in the season. Rather it happen now than the second week of February. So it's one of those where you'll take a loss like this, the second week of October compared to the second week of February. So if you guys if you make it that far or whatever, but still, but yeah, I mean, constant shout out to the Jets, man. Another solid defensive effort on their end.
Yeah. All I can really say is yeah, man. So then we had the Sunday night football. Not a really good game. You would think going into it, the Giants versus the Bills. So I'll quickly say, man, the Giants stuck in there. The Giants did a lot better than I anticipated them doing, which means the Bills were worse than I anticipated them being. But I mean, it happens. But the difference is they weren't as good as they're supposed to be, but they found a way to win the game. So, shout out to the Giants for fighting. And I've said all year, if you're going to beat the Giants, it's still going to be a scrappy team. They don't have the talent, especially on the offense and the offensive line that some other teams have. But at the end of the day, they still going to go out there and fight. They're not going to lay down.
Yeah, and this is one where I think going into the matchup, I think probably even maybe we talked about it last week where we thought this was going to be a situation where the Giants, the Bills going to blow them out because you would just look at it, because we always said, well, which Josh Allen we were going to get. Are we going to get the one that's been great at home against like the Raiders, great against us, the Commanders, or great against the Dolphins, or are you going to get that week one performance? And we got that week one performance essentially out of Josh Allen in this game. And you think to yourself, with the Giants, you think about that last play and a half, that they didn't get nothing, that last play and a half, and then went down to that final play, where they didn't, was able to convert on that touchdown attempt. And like you said, they hung in there. And that's one thing that you really want to kind of see that type of effort from a team, especially when, you think to yourself how we looked at this matchup. It was so, unevenly matched. But for them to be able to, at least get to a point where they had the ball in their hand and had opportunity to win this football game at the end. So, I mean, yeah, that's what it kind of scares me about our matchup with them tomorrow. But I guess we will talk about that later on. But yeah.
Oh yeah, we definitely will. And then we got our final review for last week. We have the Dallas Cowboys versus the Los Angeles Chargers. So, what are your thoughts on that one, Couch Coach?
Yeah, this is one of those. It was a classic. Like it to me, it's just a classic matchup between these two because they're with the roster they have, they are two underachieving football teams, and it's almost like they almost damn near came out here with a tie because the game was pretty much evenly matched the whole entire game. And then as far as when it came down to the money time, Justin Herbert, he folded, and that's one thing when you look at it, from that standpoint of just. The Cowboys had to get they had to get that win. This was kind of a must win. They didn't definitely want to fall 2 straight losses in prime time and head into their bye week this week. So, they did what they had to do to squeak out a win, and two underachieving football teams in this matchup. And we kind of got what we thought was going to happen, essentially.
Yeah, man. I mean, you look at Dallas, like you said, talent all day. Don't always have that roll over into how they play. Other thing you look at is the Chargers are a team that knows how to lose. So my thought process was the Chargers are a team that knows how to lose, but the Cowboys have a time where they do a lot of things that make you say, "Hmm." So I thought it would be a close game, but honestly, Dallas is the better team just because you get some semblance of normalcy out of what's being expected in Dallas. Whereas, man, the Chargers, that whole organization likes a hot mess because of the coach. Until they get rid of him, I feel like they're in a situation like the Falcons, right? But the difference is the coach, not instead of the quarterback. But when you have a problem with one or more of your main pieces, it doesn't help you be successful. And that's kind of where I think the Chargers are at. So they're in games because they have a lot of talent. And when they don't have Austin Eckler play the way they need Austin Eckler to play, they have no chance to win. And that's kind of what we saw. But yeah, man, I mean, I got on here a couple of weeks ago and I say, Eagles, we held out a division. We're the only one that won. Well, one of the two teams that lost this week. Obviously, it's going to be at least one loser this week because there's a matchup between two divisional teams. But I will say we're starting to lag behind a little bit in being the best team in the division. Like it's starting to be a little bit of a lag. We gotta step it up. All right, so we'll transition over here, Couch Coach, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the injury updates for each team. Then we'll also talk about some roster moves, and then we'll name a player we think is a player to watch from each team for their game this coming Sunday. All right, so we'll start off with injury updates, and let me get that up here, and we'll go through that. So where are we at here? I had it up, but you know how stuff go when you're live, man. Had it right there, but then
yeah,
go.
sure.
Yeah, so we'll start with the New York Giants. So with the Giants, Daniel Jones is questionable. A lot of reports are he's not going to play with the neck injury, still rehabbing that. Andrew Thomas, their left tackle with the hamstring injury, he's reported as being out. Center John Michael Schmitz, shoulder, he's reported to be out. Offensive tackle Matt Peart, he's shoulder injury, he's out. All right, so right tackle Evan Neal and cornerback Adoree Jackson are questionable. So it looks to be that Daniel Jones and 3/5 of the offensive line are not going to play for sure. And then another offensive lineman, Evan Neal, is questionable. And then one of the better cornerbacks, Adoree Jackson, is also questionable. So good news for you, Couch Coach.
Yeah. And then what's crazy on the other end, Washington, in a weird way, knock on wood, has been, essentially miraculously healthy. Obviously, pretty much anybody who was on the injury report on Friday,
that's true,
for the exception of Kendall Fuller, was a full participant in practice on Friday. So Kendall Fuller was limited in practice. His game status is, I guess, unknown at this point. But you think Jonathan Allen was a full participant in practice. Sam Cosmi, Cam Curl, Christian Holmes, Chris Paul, not the Golden State Warriors guard, but the real Chris Paul. James Smith-Williams, he was a full participant. Ben St. Juice, as far as our guy, the first, interception, had a great interception against the Falcons last week. He was a full participant. And then also Montez Sweat was also a full participant in practice on Friday. So, you think yourself is good, you think yourself coming into, October 22nd game, and you got one that might be a questionable in Kendall Fuller, that's a good sign. This time of year, when you have the majority of your injury report of full participant in practice on Friday, it's a good sign. It's very encouraging.
Yeah, I wanted to tell you, man, the updated list for today actually has no one on your injury report.
Okay.
Yeah. So it looks like it has no one on your injury report.
Yeah.
Obviously Dallas with the bye. We don't want to be looking at their injury report this week because they're not going to be playing. So they have some guys. They'll have an opportunity to get back on after the bye. So shout out to Dallas for the bye. It's always good to go into the bye with a win. So they were able to do that. And then for signings. So I know for the Philadelphia Eagles, of course, we signed Julio Jones. So that's been a big story. Some everybody wants to talk about. I think it's a good move. It's something that I said here on this program last week, if you recall. Literally, Julio Jones was my person for us to go sign. So for them to go out and kind of make that move, it's like, yeah, perfect. And I did forget to go over our injury report. Ours is really short for guys that are not. It's either you're a player or you're not. So basically, Bradley Roby, the guy we brought in to be our nickel corner, as well as our best safety, Reed Blankenship, are both out. So yeah, two defensive players out, but everybody else is playing, so that's good. We had a lot of people on the injury report throughout the week. But yeah, Julio Jones signing. A lot of rumblings that there are going to be more moves made in Philadelphia, but there haven't been any other moves, made as of yet. Anything happened on the Commanders front?
Let's see. Not that I am aware of. I think we was very quiet this week as far as from an acquisition standpoint, and I'm aware of. Let's see.
Yeah, I didn't remember. I didn't recall seeing anything from you guys either. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
And I didn't see
yeah, it
anything
was
from the
pretty quiet.
Dallas
Quiet.
side. Go ahead, Couch Coach.
Yeah, nothing on our end. Not yet. It's been a very quiet in Ashburn this week, so you know.
Yeah, with perusing earlier, I didn't see anything specifically, any signings for the Giants or the Cowboys either. If anybody's in the comments and you saw something I missed, definitely feel free to drop that. But I didn't see any other signings that came through this week for those teams either. Um, and then we'll hop over to roster moves. So that's where I think things kind of get a little interesting. I'll start with us. Obviously, we have two people we just talked about that are out. So we'll need to have some people step up to get on the active roster. And one of the people that has been moved is the aforementioned and aforesigned Julio Jones. So he will be active for this upcoming matchup that we have on Sunday night. Obviously, this is an all hands on deck type of matchup. We do have, one of the most prolific offenses in the NFL that we're going to be going against. So you want to have all the weapons that you can, kind of there. Um, so we'll have AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Oz as the starters. Julio, Britton Covey, and another guy, Fred Johnson, is being brought up. He's going to be the backup left tackle to Jordan Mailata. So that's a different move. Tyler Steen is still the backup at right guard. Don't know when he's going to ever get a chance, but we need him to get a chance. Just as Scott, we signed him from the practice squad. He's got us, familiar with the defense. He was here before, so he's going to be playing. He's going to be brought up, and right now he's listed as with Bradley Roby. He's listed as the starting nickel corner. So it's funny how you go from not even being on the team to being the starting nickel corner. So we'll see how that works out. But according to the depth chart, that's what we see. I'm trying to look to see if there's any other moves. It looks like that were made. And I think that's all the actual moves. Everybody's back healthy. Like I said, only two people out of Reed Blankenship and Bradley Roby. So that looks a little different. Not seeing so much red throughout the depth chart for the Eagles. It looks a little bit more comfortable. Obviously Cam Jurgens is on IR. He's going to be missed. You know, but everybody else is already on there or can't play, with the exception of Isaiah Rodgers, who just can't play due to the situation. But Isaiah Rodgers, sneaky pickup this year. He's going to be, I think, a major part of the team come 2024. All right. And Couch, did you want to go ahead and drop something about any info you have about your Commanders?
A few. We just got two sneaky but good moves. We elevated two guys from the practice squad today. Our defensive tackle Abdullah Anderson and also quarterback Tariq Castro Fields. So they'll be on the roster, and they, with us, with the Commanders, have been elevated from the practice squad. So add some more depth to our secondary and also to our D line. So
yeah, I see the Giants with all the injuries. They have Joshua Miles from the Atlanta practice squad that they brought over and elevated, as well as Tyree Phillips from the Philadelphia Eagles practice squad. So a couple of practice squad players that they grabbed from other teams that elevated. So that's interesting. On their side, what they're doing with that. It's kind of rough. The Giants are one of those teams. It's just the key pieces, right? You lose your star left corner, right? Your
yeah,
quarterback's out. Saquon Barkley was out earlier in the season. Then you got other linemen out. So just a lot of just pieces that are not there. It's kind of like, man, I wish they could just kind of put it together, but I feel like it's gonna be a long year. But I will say, sometimes you have to go through these tough years. Giants had they kind of overachieved last year, so it kind of balances itself out. But yeah, tough year for the Giants. I know that they're going to be ready for y'all tomorrow, and we'll be getting to that, of course, here in a few minutes.
yeah.
But one last team here, and that would be, of course, not going to really touch. You know what? We're not even really going to touch on Dallas because they're not making moves, except because they're on bye this week, so we don't really have to touch on them for this either. All right, and then a player to watch for each game. Let's kind of explore that, if you will, with me for a minute, Couch Coach. So your Commanders Giants game. If you could pick one player from each team to watch, who would you say?
So I think for the Commanders, you look at Terry McLaurin. I think Terry McLaurin, uh, he's kind of been inching his way as far as getting, targets, getting yards and touchdowns. I think he's very poised to have a big game. I think people look at the Giants secondary is pretty good. I mean, as far as they've held up there in the bargain, as far as secondary wise, but I look at like last week. You look at, we talked about a great effort defensively with the Giants, but they did give did have Stephon Diggs have over 100 yards receiving last week, and I definitely think Terry has that opportunity to hit that benchmark and kind of get his high, it's not high, but as far as get his season highs in yards and targets potentially in this game. So I definitely think he has a great opportunity in this game, in this matchup with that. On the Giants end, you look at Kayvon Thibodeau. I think he's another one where, and I even talked about this on the Commanders in the chat. It's almost like waking up a sleeping giant, pun intended. And it's just one of those where I think he is a key factor for this for this Giants defense. I think you look at how slow they have been as far as getting penetration, getting to the quarterback. They haven't really been the best as far as getting sacks and what have you. But you got to watch the team. You look at like what happened last week with Atlanta. They only had 5 sacks on the season. They had 5. They pretty much reached their yearly total in a one game. And I think the Giants might have an opportunity here. And obviously, if you remember our matchups last year, especially that the Sunday Night Football game where Kayvon Thibodeau made probably one of the biggest plays in a game to give the Giants a win and ultimately give them that opportunity to make the playoffs. Essentially, that was kind of one of those games that essentially kind of put them in there. So I definitely think he has a scary impact on this team for this Giants team and kind of can get that defense going.
Oh yeah, I was on mute.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I get it, man. When I look at a player for these two teams, for y'all, I'm gonna go with Bijan Robinson because I think you need to be able to run the ball this game. You need to be able to have a big day on the ground, and he's definitely, taking the reins from Antonio Gibson, who you could look at as well as the versatility for him. But I'm gonna go with Bijan Robinson, and then just let's pound the ball with the ground game. You're gonna have to be able to do that. And then if you're the Giants, for me, obviously you gotta look at Tyrod Taylor. Can he come in and do more with his arm this game? Because he ran pretty well last week, right? But he looked more like my backup quarterback, Marcus Mariota, than you wanted him to look, right? You want him to throw more, you want to be able to be accurate, make the passes. And Tyrod Taylor's been around, so he should be able to make the plays. So for me, I feel like those are two guys that we're definitely going to have to watch out for in this game, how they play and the effect that they have on their teams, getting points, generating drives, and mitigating how long the other team has the ball. All right, so we'll move on. Anything else, Coach?
No, that's good on my end. Yeah.
All right, so we'll move on to that Sunday night game. So we got the Philadelphia Eagles against the Miami Dolphins. So for the Philadelphia Eagles, I am going to say um, Dallas Goddard. Dallas Goddard needs to be featured in the offense. He needs catches. We need him to block. We need him to help out with chips and different things if necessary. We just need him to be there and be available and be the versatile guy that we have paid him to be and we know that he can be. We need him to stay involved in the offense, so we need him to get the ball because when you're tight end and you get the ball thrown to you a couple times, if somebody comes to hit you or somebody comes to be blocked, you might block them just a little bit harder. So we definitely need that to roll through. If you're talking about the Dolphins, there's one player to me that makes everything go for the Dolphins, and that's Tua Tagovailoa. Tua's got to stay healthy throughout this game. He's got to make good plays. When that rush comes, because we know it's coming, he's going to have to find out a way to overcome it. If he can't do that, this is going to be a long day for his team and a long day for that offense.
Yeah, and that look at it from this matchup as far as from the Eagles and the Dolphins, it's gonna be the speeds to wide receivers. I think that's what I look at it. I still for the Eagles end, I look at like AJ Brown. I think he'll be one of those where him, even though him and Tyreek Hill won't be going against each other, but to me, this could be like a situation. I almost said like to me, if you want to use a basketball reference, it might be horse. Like, hey, I'm gonna catch this one over the middle. I'm gonna catch this one in the slot. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. It's gonna be one of those where I think it's gonna be literally like a track meet. I think these are, the matchup between these two, even though they won't play against each other, but as far as their productivity matchup, in a sense, I think that's going to be the key of who's going to come out here with a victory. It's going to be contingent on those two.
I can dig that. All right, and then the last one we'll talk about the players to watch for. Oh, that's actually it. Tripping. Yeah, so that's the players to watch for. So now we got a couple of games to talk about. Let's do a game preview. And then my good people, like I like to say, we're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. You know what I'm saying? So, Coach, I'm gonna let you take it away. Commanders versus Giants. Tell us who's gonna win. Tell us why. Give it to us.
I got you. And it's gonna be a really interesting matchup. Obviously, you can throw out a lot of things in this game. You can throw out stats. You can throw out all different things. It's a divisional matchup. This is a game that definitely Washington needs to win, especially if they want to stay, above water in this division. Especially don't want to go 0 and be, 3-4 and 0-2 in division going into our next week's matchup against Philly. But when you look at it from a statistical standpoint, we're a lot alike. It's almost like the Spider-Man meme. We can really point at each other. We have, arguably one of the worst defenses. But, as far as I think we all, between the two of us, I think we have, we make up like as far as, I think they're 28th and we're like 31st. But, tomato. But I definitely think this is going to be one of those matchups where I think the Commanders will win this football game. And I think it's going to be tension, almost like you were saying, as far as I think you get a nice steady dose of Brian Robinson, from the running standpoint, and also from the passing. I mean, obviously he had a receiving touchdown last week against the Falcons, so I definitely think that. I think Terry kind of gets his groove in this matchup. I think he'll score a touchdown. I think the situation, obviously, our biggest issue is probably just keeping Sam Howell upright. Can he release the ball a little bit quicker? That's what I'm hoping to kind of get Brian Robinson involved, throw Terry a few little slants here and there. Go to your first check down, throw it immediately. I definitely think that we'll have a good opportunity to somewhat stop the run. I still think Saquon can still break out for like 95 to about 115 yards. But I think we'll be able to kind of contain that. So I definitely think we kind of it like a bend don't break type situation with Saquon. Then with Tyrod, just keeping him uncomfortable in the pocket. Don't let him be outside the pocket. I think he can kind of gash us because obviously you look at from our situation from the middle is always we have a quote unquote soft middle in a sense where a lot of guys because we don't really have the best linebackers for this particular defense. So I look at that, but I definitely think that Washington will take care of business. I think just basically sold on they'll have a good defense. I think they'll have opportunities where I think they could force some turnovers. I think that'll be a killer for the Giants if they force turnovers. And I think if we can play clean football, almost like what we did last week against the Falcons, I think we could definitely win this football game.
I dig that, man. I dig that. I mean, I think you said it well. I don't just say anything else about that one. I mean, it is what it is. So the other matchup, of course, is the Philadelphia Eagles, versus the Miami Dolphins. This game is going to come down to a few different things. The main thing this game is going to come down to is number one, the Philadelphia's defense versus the Miami Dolphins, number two, offense, right? Because, offense versus defense, excuse me. The Philadelphia Eagles offense versus the Miami Dolphins defense. The reason is we know Miami has a prolific offense, right? That's not a question. We know the Philadelphia Eagles have at least improving defense, at least a solid defense, especially against the run. But the Dolphins defense, they don't have, one of their main corners right now. He's working his way back, but he's not there yet. The Philadelphia Eagles have no consistency. Jalen Hurts looks to have regressed, especially in the last game. And the play calling is terrible. So is this something that could be turned around where this offense can start to put up points and help the defense? Because you need an offense that at times can get you a lead to make the other team one-dimensional. If you could take the running game away from the other team, right? If you can make the other team a one-dimensional team and say, we're not going to let you run, so you're going to have to throw. Then we're able to sit back. We're able to say, all right, we just got to watch for those couple of plays where they may try to run, but we need to really tee off on them. We need to be blitzed a lot, not all the time. And we need to make sure that we catch them when they try to gadget plays and they try to runs. That's what their defense is going to obviously be trying to do to us. And then our offense just needs to take what they give us, right? They give you a short play, take it. We need to run the ball a lot. We need to play intelligent football. From our defensive perspective, again, take away the run. We've been the top run team so far, so let's keep that up. Let's not let these guys get in open space and make big plays. You have to tackle these guys. You can't arm tackle them. You can't push them out of bounds. You got to put your body on them and sling them down, spear them, take them down. Those are the things that we're going to have to do. We're going to have to put a safety over the top, probably Sidney Brown, because you don't want Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle getting loose on you. So, it's a couple of things you got to do if you're the Eagles, if you want to win this game. But your offense has to take advantage of their defense. And in your defense, if you're the Eagles, has to take advantage of their offense. So we want to win those two sides of the ball in the matchups. It's going to be harder, obviously, with their prolific offense, but it can be done. The Buffalo Bills did it really well. So there's a blueprint there. It's just, do you have the personnel? Do you have the understanding? Is Sean Desai going to be able to come up with the right game plan? And I feel a lot more confident in him than I did a couple of weeks ago. But all that uncomfort I had for him, I shift all that over to Brian Johnson because of what he's doing over there on the offensive side of the ball is pathetic right now. And I'm very disappointed to see it in week 6. and hopefully it does not continue to week 7.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think this is going to be a good matchup. And I know a lot of people, and I agree with this, where this could be a potential Super Bowl matchup. I think you look at it from a standpoint where it's a possibility. Obviously, you got the two quarterbacks, obviously, the two former Alabama quarterbacks squaring off. So I definitely think this is going to be, a good barometer test for both teams to see where they are. I mean, obviously, as far as from a Philly standpoint, hey, if they win the football game, people are looking, okay, you win against one of the most prolific offenses in this league. Okay. And then also if Miami is to win, okay, you beat a team that went to the playoffs, with the Super Bowl last year. So, there people look at Miami at this point in the early stage of the season that they might be, the legitimate contenders if they can go, and win this game. So I definitely think this will be a very entertaining Sunday night football game. We're due for a good primetime football game. It's been a while since we had a good primetime game, so I think we're due one because yeah. Oh, you muted.
Even look down at that. Appreciate it. Yes, I
Okay.
just have a quick non-NFC beast related topic. We still have one team that is defeated, one team that has not won a game this season. Every other team has at least one win. The Broncos got to win, right? The Patriots got to win. You look over in the NFC, the Giants at least got one win, right? The Bears got to win. The Cardinals got to win. But the Carolina stinking Panthers, they had the chance to get CJ Stroud. And I am going to rub this in. I've been rubbing it in since you made the pick, and I'm not going to stop. You made the wrong pick based on what you had. I'm not saying Bryce Young won't be a good quarterback in 2 to 3 years. What I'm saying is you needed a guy that could come in and handle being behind a iffy line. That was not Bryce Young. Measurables told you that. The eye test told you that. What you saw him do at Alabama told you that. But you elected for reasons other than his play on the field that this is the guy that you wanted. This was not, again, a move that was done by the football people that's been reported in the city of Charlotte. Reporters you're connected, you already know this was not a move from the football people. This was a move from the owners. The owners aren't football people. And that's why this move was made. So, Charlotte, the best thing about all this is right now, the Bears are your best friends. You're stinking it up this bad to get them your first round pick. Good job.
Oh, I ache for them. And like you said, and that's funny because, I mean, yeah, it is what it is. But, but I always found it funny because, especially during the draft process, I can see, because at first I was like, oh, this CJ Stroud for sure, because you see how kind of the body language that Frank Wright had with him, and you're like, okay, this just makes all the more sense, all the world for them to get CJ Stroud. But then, once, like you said, the non-football people and then the people who report on it said, hey, pretty much gave us an advance warning, like, hey, it's going to be Bryce Young's going to be the pick. So it's kind of like you said, and I can see in the sense that how that happens. And they're at a point now, they're at a crossroads where it's like, I mean, do you get rid of Frank Wright already? Like, as far as, starting 0-6. And I know, and this is one of the things where you think to yourself, this is another one where in this Tepper, administration, you might be potentially going on your fourth coach. It's him hiring the fourth coach of this football team. And you think to yourself, wow, like this is bizarre. I mean, if this happens, you really have fired 2 coaches back to back in the middle of the season.
Well, I will say this.
Yeah.
You can't blame a coach if you didn't give him his quarterback.
Correct.
If he told you this is the guy that I feel like we should pick with this pick, and you went and pick someone else, then you can't then hold him accountable year one if there's not success. So if you get rid of Frank Wright this season, after this season, and I'm not saying that they won't because they've made bad decisions before. We just talked about one. But if you do that, you're turning off other coaches because other coaches are saying, why should I go there They number one had a guy who went in there and won games for him the rest of the year. The players wanted him to stay. They played hard for him and won games. You didn't want him. You went and got Frank Wright. You didn't listen to any of the football people in the room. You went and got the person that you wanted a quarterback. All the football people that you pay to make those decisions be darned. You did what you wanted to do, a la Jerry Jones. And it's not working out. Like if you hold a coach accountable for that, you're making everybody say, I don't want to go work for the Teppers. That's not a solid place to be anymore. So just saying, I'm not saying that they won't coach because, hey, you know how it goes.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's the thing where I can see this happening, and you think to yourself like, and like you said, that would turn people off. I mean, trust me, it once was in my backyard where you look at what was going on in Washington, where that because especially in this case, if you hire a guy like Frank Wright, but you don't allow him the opportunity to select the guy that he that he sees a future with, that he can see himself having longevity with his football team and not being there. And so you look at it where he's back against the corner, back against the wall, because essentially, if this situation don't work out, I could definitely see where if they continue to lose, I can see them pulling the trigger on Frank Wright. And that, like you said, it don't make any sense whatsoever because they didn't give him the guy who he wanted. So it's like you set him up from the start. And like you said, a lot of people will be very leery to take this coaching position. It almost remind me of like almost how like Houston was, before they drafted, CJ Stroud, where a lot of people looked at it where you had guys, one and dones in Houston, and the same thing happened with here, and they started to become one and done in Charlotte potentially. So but Frank Wright, if something happened, I think he'll get a job. He'll get a job soon. I think everybody realized that ain't his fault. So I think NFL circles will understand. Hey, you got they did you dirty. So
Yeah, that would definitely be a wild situation, man. Did you have any non-NFC beast things you want to discuss, man, or are we good to go and rock this thing for the evening?
I think we good. Yeah, I think everything's been solid in the league, and but I'm good.
All right. So for our co-host who's not here, for your boy Cool McCain, for your boy Couch Coach, and Couch Coach, let the people know where they can find you at.
Yes, indeed. So you catch me here on Saturdays, NFC Beast, 9:00 Eastern Standard Time. Also check me out, Couch Coach Live, every Wednesday, 8:00 Eastern Standard Time. Couch Coach Live, social media, the website couchcoachlive.com. And also my Commander Central podcast, Commanders in the Chat, every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And on social media, that's Commanders ITC. Yeah.
So there's a lot of places that you can find me, but there's one place I would like for you to focus on right now. That place I would like you to focus on is tomorrow at noon Eastern Daylight Time, WDRBmedia.com, or go to your TuneIn app, type in WDRB Media, be there by 11:58 for you, boy. Episode number 1, Cool in the Game. All me, all about the game of sports. Let's get it. And with that, NFC Beast, we out. Another week in the books. Make sure you're back with us next week. Hopefully everybody will be able to join, but if not, it's still going to get held down because that's what we do in the Beast. And you know what? The season ain't over yet. We still the best division in football. You don't like it? Cry me a river.